My judging criteria is at my funeral, how many millionaires, self-made millionaires will show up. Anybody who says you can get someone to change their behavior based on logic, you are delusional. I have gone to work in my car, not had enough gas to get home, no money for lunch, no money for gas to get home, and no idea how I was going to get home or eat that day. My brain snapped, and for the first time, I saw him disappointed in me because I couldn't answer the question. It was incredibly traumatic. You might as well put a knife through my hand. And the answer was never one time was it because it's money. You won't do it properly if you don't know why you want the money.
Today with me, Eric Mitchell from Nixa Lending. And my opening question to you is, you said every high earner you have ever met has one thing in common, and it has nothing to do with money. What is it?
So, great question. My journey in that discovery started back in 2004 when I had a very traumatic moment in my life. It was the first time I had disappointed my mentor, somebody that I really looked up to. I wanted to emulate him in every capacity. And he asked me, it was 2004. I'm in the mortgage industry. I'm making more money than I ever made in my life, more money than I ever dreamed of. And after doing a site visit with me and my team, he looked at me and said, we were having dinner. He said, I'm just curious, Eric, why do you want all this money? Like, what's driving you? Like, what's the purpose of it? And I'll never forget looking at him and not understanding the question. It was confusing to me. In my brain, I was like, because it's money. What are you talking about?
Uh-huh.
And I looked at him confused by the question. I said, I don't understand the question. And he looked at me, his head tilted a little bit. And for the first time, I saw him disappointed in me because I couldn't answer the question. It was incredibly traumatic. You might as well put a knife through my hand. And so it was the catalyst to this journey, right? If I can't answer that question, who can? Somebody's got to have a good answer to that question. It's a belief system I've had, right? If I can't do it, somebody can do it. I'll just go find that person, ask them how they did it, and do what they tell me. And so I started interviewing people in the mortgage industry, real estate, financial, insurance. My criteria was you have to be self-made. You have to be making more than $1 million a year. And why? Why? What's driving you? And in asking hundreds, and I'm in the thousands now, but at the time it was in the hundreds, because I'm a very linear thinker, I noticed that all of the answers came back in only 5 different buckets. There were only 5 different answers. There was variations, but really it was 5 different answers. And the answer was never one time was it because it's money.
Were you surprised that it wasn't money?
Oh, I was shocked. Yeah, I was very surprised.
Well, now I have to ask you, what are these 5 buckets?
So one answer that came back pretty consistently, and so I've had to create sound bites about them, and then I can elaborate on each one. But the first category was some sort of lifestyle enhancement. Now, some people might think that's, they wanted a bigger house or nicer car or something. No, they were getting away from something, right? They came from a third world country. They came from a bad childhood. They were trying to escape something. And so they just outworked you because they're never going to go back to that bad place.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So if you think of an immigrant family who opens a restaurant and then they just rotate shifts, they go to sleep for 8 hours and then they work for 16 hours, 7 days a week, because they're never going to go back to where they came from. They'll just outwork you. And so that was one possibility. By the way, if you're watching this, you don't need all 5. Just one out of the 5, if it resonates with you. So that's one. Number 2 is emotional gratification. They were searching for a moment in time of achievement typically to prove somebody wrong. Your grade 1 teacher told you were stupid. And your dad never said he was proud of you. Something, right? So there's an emotional gratification you're searching for. That was option 2. Option 3 was caring for your parents. My parents are aging. They don't have enough money to take care of themselves. I need to build them a house. I need to take care of them medically. I need to earn all this extra money because I have to care for my parents. Option 4 was opportunities for your children, right? I need to be in a certain school district. I need to build a business for them to take over. I don't want to have a child. I don't want them to have a childhood that I had. So they just outwork everybody. And then option 5 was legacy. right? I've already accomplished certain things, and now I want to leave a permanent footprint. I want to build a school. I want to build an orphanage. I want to build a hospital, something that says I
I
matter.
am definitely number two. I don't
So was
think
I,
it,
by the way, for 30
y-
years.
yeah, I don't
What's
think
what's
I
yours?
ever said this out loud, ever. But I've been speaking about recently that, I have a very abusive mother who's still alive, but she would say to me, "You are too stupid.
Hmm,
Nobody will ever love you.
here it
You're
is.
going to end up on the street and you're going to eat dog shit."
Yeah, and boy, that is some powerful motivation to drive activities to prove her wrong.
Yes.
And for some people who don't have that childhood trauma, they can't understand how that could be a driver unless you've had the childhood trauma. And that, like me, I'm right there with you. Mine was my dad,
Mhm.
right? And so I'm like, oh yeah, that'll drive you to do things that are inhuman. And so it's a huge motivating factor for some people. Not everybody, but for some people, it's a big driver.
I mean, I certainly, for the longest time wanted to prove her wrong until I realized I was proving myself right. But that was a whole transformation in this piece.
Did you ever prove her wrong? Did you get your moment?
Oh, yeah, I sold a business to Bill Gates for millions of dollars.
There you go.
So,
So let me ask you. So you and I have never talked about this. If I could ask you a couple of questions
go ahead,
from that happened with others and myself
please.
as well. So when you did it and you got your moment, did she need to know about it? Did you need to involve her in the moment, or did you just?
No,
Yeah, I didn't either. My dad still doesn't know that I got the moment.
my mother doesn't want to ask.
Yeah, yeah. So, okay, but the interesting thing is, though, right, in you doing this podcast, I'm willing to bet that your why, so I call it your why of money, right? Your why moved from number 2 to number 5.
Yeah, 100%, because it was so difficult.
So you're channeling the energy from number
Yes.
2, then you get your number 2 and it collapses, and so now you have to rechannel it onto one of the other ones. Otherwise, you run into problems. If I can share a story with somebody who did that
Please.
and then didn't replace it. So, a very famous singer in the 70s, Janis Joplin. Her driver was to be the number 1 female recording artist on the planet. She got it. She got the moment, but then didn't replace it. And she turned to drugs and killed herself. And so you have to replace the why. Once you achieve it, you have to replace it. Because otherwise you don't have a driver. There's no purpose to your activities anymore. You feel empty because that driver has collapsed.
So you're saying now in the Why of Money
Yeah.
that the people are driven to achieve things because of one of these 5 buckets, and then ideally, when you lose one of the drivers because you achieved it in that particular category, you better replace it with something else. But I want to go first to sort of this moment of disappointment. Because what was it about that was such a transformational thing? Because on the show, just to give context, on the show, we often talked about rock bottom moments and people losing everything, living in a tent in Alaska, that kind of stuff. Yours wasn't like that. Yours was somebody who was disappointed in you. Was that a repeat of a trauma
Oh, for sure. My dad. Oh,
from
yeah.
your
Yeah. Yeah.
dad? So tell me on how powerful that was and why that is considered sort of this turning and transformational moment for you. What was it about this?
So my dad, in growing up, was very successful. I was raised in Saskatchewan, Canada. His dad and he started a drugstore, a company, a chain. We ended up owning 27 stores, 900 employees. He was reasonably famous in our area of the world because we were the number 1 private employer in the province in Canada. And so growing up, he would say to my brother and I, my brother's 2 years younger than I am, he would say to us on a very regular basis, like, just so you know, you're never going to accomplish what I've done. Ever. You're never going to be what I am. It'll never happen. Yeah, I know. Hold on. So for those of you watching, look at the trigger that's happening, right? Because all of your childhood stuff is coming up, right? And that's when you were telling me about your childhood, my childhood stuff was coming up, right?
You look at me, you're like, oh, I got you, girl. I know exactly
Yeah,
what you're talking
yeah,
about.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so my brother and I was 21 and he was 19. We were out for dinner, just he and I, and we were talking about life. And we looked at each other and it's like, are we going to listen to him? Or are we just going to like go live our lives? And we both agree, yeah, we're just going to live our lives. Like he's just whatever. I call it a non-functioning narcissist. And so, but unbeknownst to me, right, subconsciously, this software is running that I have to work twice as hard to be thought of as half as good as anybody else because I was the owner's kid, right? Like no matter what, the spotlight is on you at all times. You must perform at all times perfectly. That was my childhood. And so overachieving to me, like I don't even understand not that, right? Like stop working and do what? Like, what do you do if you're not working? I don't know what. I don't even understand that. And so it serves me in some areas. Obviously, it doesn't
Mhm.
serve me in a
Mhm.
lot of other areas, obviously. But so the trauma for me is, right, I didn't have a father growing up, right? He was always working. And if he was home, he wasn't home. There was no parental guidance. Like I've never had a curfew. Never. He was never home to enforce one. My mom realized she married her dad, who was also verbally abusive. And so she was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, but it wasn't. She was just clinically depressed. And so she was bedridden my whole childhood, right? Just out of depression. So I didn't have parents. My dad was gone. My mom was in bed sick. And so in raising yourself and you don't have a dad, especially as a boy, right? Like you try and latch on to some sort of parental figure of some kind. And then when I met my mentor, right, he's living the life that I aspire to exactly. Like his exact life was what I wanted. And so I'm just gonna do whatever he says. Like that's it. Like he's doing it the right way, whatever that is, that's what I want. I'm gonna do it that way. And then to show that he's disappointed in me was incredibly traumatic for me. I mean, I didn't sit there and cry at the table, but my brain snapped for sure. I hopefully I hit it. He and I've talked about it since. He wasn't aware. So I hit it well because when we talked about it about 10 years later, we are having dinner. I said, do you know what happened that night? He goes, no, what happened? I was like, oh man, my brain snapped, brother. Like you gotta know, like this is what happened.
Yeah, allow me to take you back here.
Yeah. He's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry." It's like, "No, man, it shot me on this journey. Like you pushed me on this journey that has served me, right? Like I needed to become conscious of that. I needed to understand it more, and you were the catalyst for that. And unfortunately for myself, I learn very quickly when there's trauma, and I become a little stubborn when there's not trauma, right? That's not a good. Yep, there it is. Yep. And so you and I obviously had some similar belief systems
Yeah,
installed.
because then I married my mother, and that didn't work. So this moment was the first time you recognized that there was a trauma trigger, or did it take you some time after this to even figure out that there was something there you needed to solve?
This was a moment of trauma that shot me on the journey of trying to figure out why do I want money?
Okay.
Like I wasn't even conscious of that I was doing it to prove my dad wrong. That was all subconscious. I didn't know that that's what was driving me at the time. I just knew that I was driven, but I didn't quantify why I was driven. Right? I just worked 70 hours a week because that's what you do. That was it. That was my only reason consciously.
And then how does this journey happen? And by the way, I will tell you that after our pre-call conversation, when you were sharing the why about money, I sat down and I thought about why I want money.
Yeah.
Because I've made money, but I want to make more money. And I'm like, well, maybe I should get really clear on why I want it. And then I had it shoot through my head like at 160 miles an hour. I want to be generous.
Yeah, hold on. That's really vague. So can I share with you how to quantify that? There's a
Please
specific
do.
strategy, right? So everything significant in our lives that we're trying to do is for one of two reasons. There's only two reasons we're trying to do something significant. We're either trying to heal from the past,
Mhm.
something we're trying to heal, or we're trying to honor the past. That's it. There is no third reason. And so you want to be generous because you want to heal something or you want to honor something.
I don't know if I can answer that.
That's okay. You don't need to. I would encourage you to just start processing that.
Yeah, I thought about this and, I'm a grandmother and
Mhm.
I have a daughter and Gary has 3 daughters and one of them is now married and has a baby. And I'm thinking to myself, in order for me to maybe it is to heal something. It is the family that I didn't have after a particular point in my life where my mother was not a part of my daughter's life at all. And but I want to be. So maybe that falls into this
The
category.
generosity of being present.
Yeah, so I can take him to the ski trips and book the place in
Brilliant.
Hawaii so we
Brilliant.
can all get together.
Brilliant.
Yeah, so interesting. Anyway, but I interject my own
No,
story
that's
into
great.
your story here. Yes, but
No, but that's the purpose, right? That is we want the viewer of this to do the same thing, right? Why do I want money? Right? Like why is everybody working so hard and why is everybody doing all this stuff? And like we're just killing ourselves to do what? Like what for? Well, you won't do it properly. Here's what I can promise you. You won't do it properly if you don't know why you want the money. You will struggle. You will face challenges head on that will crush you and you won't get back up. But if you know why you want the money, then when life beats you, you will get back up.
I like this. I like this a lot. So now you are in the discovery mode. I want to go back to this. So in the discovery mode, you got something got triggered or something got hit. And
Good.
now you're starting to do your self-discovery journey. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I realized that I was number two, right? So I did some work on myself and I study something called neurolinguistic programming. I've been since certified master practitioner in NLP and started doing some discovery work on myself and realized number two, okay, it's my dad. Got it. It's not about crying about it. It's just being aware of it. Now, how do I channel it? Okay, so I don't want to live the rest of my life with this, right? I need to collapse it. How do I collapse it? Well, I need to achieve it. I need to get my moment. Okay, so how do I get the moment? Well, my dad judges it based on two things, income and fame, because he was reasonably famous. Those are the two, that was his judging criteria. You'll never make as much money. You'll never be as well known, right? It's like, okay. So in 2005, based on inflation, I beat him financially. That's only half, right? But when I got my book published, I was invited to speak at a very large event where President Bush Jr. was also speaking. And so when my foot hit that stage with Tony Robbins and George Bush Jr., and it was televised and I win. I'm now more famous. So I had to create a moment.
Mm-hmm.
I call it a gold medal moment, right? Like in the Olympics, you get a gold medal or you don't, right? Sometimes it's by a fraction of 1 second. Sometimes it's a different, but you either got it or you didn't. And so if you're going to achieve your moment, like for you, the moment you sold the company, they signed the contract, you got the check, you deposited the check cleared. Boom, gold medal moment, you win, right? And so for me, it was a moment my foot hit that stage. Boom, I win. But now it collapses. It's gone. It's not a driver anymore. So now you have to focus on replacing with what?
So you get involved with neurolinguistic programming. You go to seminars. You learn. Today you have like what, over 200 people that you are leading. You wrote a book about why have money. Where is this going for you? What motivates you at this point?
Yeah, so when it shifted, I had to determine shift to what, for what reason, right? What am I healing? What am I honoring? My grandfather was probably the greatest human I've ever had in my life. Certainly the biggest influence. My dad and he didn't get along because my grandfather saw who my dad was and I don't think he liked it. We never talked about it. I don't think he liked it very much. And so they butted heads a lot. And all of a sudden, you've got a grandson who loves being around you so much and, listens to all of your feedback and does everything you tell him to do. What grandfather doesn't want to pour out into that grandchild? And I loved being around him. Like he would ask me to do things and I wouldn't question him. I would just go do it just because he asked. And so at a young age, I was 9 years old and he was teaching me what a balance sheet was and a profit loss statement and a cash flow statement. And I could read it and understand it. I just thought, well, that's what grandfathers do, right? They just teach you how this stuff works. No, that's a crazy childhood. But he was an incredibly fabulous human. Everybody called him Gramps, right? And so imagine this drugstore company, 900 employees. He was the figurehead, right? The CEO. But everybody just called him Gramps. Employees, customers, vendors, didn't matter. He was Gramps. And When he passed away, I was 22 and I was living in Vancouver, Canada at the time. I'd moved away. And so we're Jewish. And so the funeral has to happen quickly. So when I got the call, you got to get on a plane, you got to go. It's not next week. It's happening in a day and a half from now. And so got the first plane ticket I could, got back. As I'm getting to the family's house, I changed real quick into a suit. The limousines showed up. It was very quick. Everything was fast. I get into the limousine with the family. We show up to the synagogue. And as we pulled up to the synagogue, there were thousands of people outside the synagogue. Sorry, I'm remembering the time. I'm getting a little verklempt. So I remember thinking to myself, as we pulled up, watching thousands of people outside the synagogue, like, who's running this? Like, why don't they open the doors? Like, why are you making everybody stand outside? This is crazy. So we walked up to the door, right? So the crowd parted. As a family, we walked up to the door, and I remember getting to the door, and you could see inside from the door, and I could see that it was packed, like standing room. And I stopped, and I looked in, and I looked out at the thousands of people, and for the first time, I realized who he was. I didn't know. I'm his grandson, and I didn't know. To me, he was just Gramps. I didn't know this was going to happen. Nobody knew. And for the city, we were in it was Regina, Saskatchewan, Canada, and 200,000 people in the city. But for the first time in the city's history, the police had to show up and barricade the streets to the synagogue, to the cemetery. They had to shut down the city streets to get to the cemetery. There was too many people. And so I just looked at that and I said, I had this amazing teacher who taught me how to have impact at a very large scale by being a good human. What does it mean to honor that? And how do I have impact at a scale that can match that? How many millionaires can I build? And so my judging criteria is at my funeral, how many millionaires, self-made millionaires will show up?
I love that. I love that. Yeah, mine is also impact driven, and mine is around how many people are running businesses, supporting their families because of the processes and systems and the operating system and growth architecture I've
There you go.
provided them with. It is it's
There's
very
the blueprint. There's the blueprint that you've
it's
created.
the blueprint. Yes, that's the blueprint that I've created, and that's been really the message in the last 2 years specifically, that I need to take this out in a much larger way and make it available to everybody. Because I think, and this is sort of a question I want to verify with you. I think part of our lives we go through creating this IP, and we're so proud that we have this unique system that we created. And then to your point in the way of money, when that shifts into, yeah, but now how many people can I help with that? Then that becomes a legacy. Was this that conscious moment when that happened?
No, so the conscious moment in 2004 was about, I didn't understand why, right? And so that shot me into the catalyst of trying to figure it out. Figure out the legacy piece actually didn't happen until after I collapsed because I couldn't think about legacy until I first collapsed the first trigger that I needed, right? Which was to prove my dad wrong. Until I did that, my brain couldn't wrap around legacy. I was too focused on proving him wrong. And then after that, I went to the same mentor who helped me. And so he helped me figure out what is that next step. And I've since been blessed to have some great mentors in my life who have always helped me, right? And these are specialists in their fields that are the best of the best of the best. And the gift I give my mentors is I listen and I implement.
So the thing that you talk about that every high earner has in common, can you just specify that for our audience? What is it?
Their activities are driven by their why, not money. And so you can listen to that. One of the things I've learned about neuro-linguistic programming is I can tell where you are in your life, where you are in your journey by the words you're choosing.
Interesting.
Right? And so what questions are you asking me will tell me where you are. Typically, within the first couple of questions, I already know how much money you make. Typically. I mean, I don't want to say it's always, but it's pretty accurate, plus or minus. So I'm in the lending space, right? So if you're a loan officer or a real estate agent and you say, Eric, well, do you guys do down payment assistance? I know you're broke. You're broke. You're brokety broke. If that's in your first two questions to me, then you don't know what you're doing, which means you're not making any money. Everybody does down payment assistance. Like, are you kidding me? For you to not know that means you're not doing any business, which means you're broke. Versus if a realtor says to me, well, Eric, what CRM are you using and how do you scale your business? Wow. Hello. Now I'm talking to a player. Now I'm talking to somebody who's moving. Much better question, right? And so now I know you're making money. You can spot somebody based on the words they're choosing, whether they're achieving or not achieving. There's going to be ups and downs. There's going to be roadblocks. There's going to be problems. I don't care what you're doing. Is this person in front of you committed to figuring that stuff out with you?
Yeah, unless there's an urgency, I don't think
Even
that
urgent,
you can talk until the cows come home.
How urgent? And are you emotionally attached to the urgency, or have you detached from the urgency?
Exactly.
I said,
Does it matter?
helping somebody understand your activities are based on the emotion and the size of the emotion attached to this decision. So I don't care about the logic behind your decision. I care about the emotion behind the decision. Like an example is if you're talking to a smoker, right? And you say, hey, did you know if you keep smoking, you're going to die early and it's going to be brutal and painful. And they go, yeah, great. So now you're going to stop, right? No. Yeah. So logic has nothing to do with the activity. Zero. Anybody who says you can get someone to change their behavior based on logic, you are delusional. Now, if you say to that same person, right, you attach an emotion to it. So, and I did this once. Oh God, this story is going to kill me. After telling my grandfather's story, this one might put me over the edge. But so
I'll get
so
the tissues.
I was doing
ready
this workshop, and I make these bold claims, and I always say, look, if somebody ever can prove to me that it doesn't work, I'll stop making the claims. And if you want to challenge me on it, please challenge me on it, and let's find out, right? So I was doing this workshop for it was about 100 people. It was this company convention, and about 100 people in the room. And I made this claim about you can get anybody to do anything if you can just ratchet up the emotions enough. As an example, like I can get a smoker to stop smoking in 1 hour. Give me 1 hour with any smoker, you won't smoke again for the rest of your life. I'm just going to ratchet up the pain. You won't like it, but I can do it. And then I kind of bounced off, right? We just moved on to another subject. So that night, they're having their company party. I was invited. I was there. I had a couple of drinks by this time. And one of the guys from the workshop that day walked up and he said, Eric, was it true? Like, can you really do that thing about the smoking? I said, yeah. He says, well, I smoke. Can we do it now? I was like, dude, we're at a party. Like now? He goes, yeah, right now. I'm motivated. I'm okay, but I've had a couple of drinks. Number two, like you don't get to choose whether you do what I say you're going to do. The moment you don't do what I say you're going to do is the moment I walk away and let's just go to the party and move on. You're not committed. He goes, Eric, I don't care what you tell me to do. I'll chop off a finger if you tell me to chop off a finger. I was like, oh, that's pretty extreme, but okay. That seems like you're committed. Okay. So we go outside, and this guy is like 6'2", hair slicked back perfectly. His suit's perfect. Shoes are perfect, right? And I looked at him. I did a quick up and down. I said, are you ex-military? He goes, yeah, how'd you know? I said, Dad, you're too crisp, too tight, too... Yeah, like
The shoes are too
like
polished.
it's all too, like you're perfect. You're standing perfect. Your clothes are perfect. Everything's too perfect. He goes, yeah, ex-military. I was a Marine, right? So what's important to this guy? Honor, brotherhood, code.
His word.
Integrity, right? This guy is tight and crisp, right? I already have these assumptions as to where his triggers are going to be, right? Why does he want to quit smoking? Because it's outside of integrity. Oh, I'm going to ratchet up the pain brutal. This is going to be, in my brain, I'm going, this is going to be easy. So I said, first thing I got to ask you is, are you married? He goes, yeah. I said, okay, you're married how long? Oh, I think it was like 25 years. And I said, do you love your wife? He goes, I worship the ground she walks on. She is my everything. She is my sun and my moon. Oh, this is going to be brutal. I was like, oh, wow. That's not, you. After 25 years, that's not normally the answer. Right? Like, that's unusual. I said, so where is she now? And I said, oh, she's inside. She's here. Yeah, she's here. Go get her. Because in my brain, I'm just going to use her. This is going to be the easiest thing in the world. So go get her. So he goes inside, brings her out. And I said, hi, nice to meet you. He's like, oh, you're the guy from today. He's been talking about you all afternoon. I was like, oh, that's good to know. I said, so can I ask you a few questions? And she said, sure. I said, so he just said that you're his sun and moon, which is, kudos to you, whatever you're doing. Congratulations. You should write a book. Like whatever that is that gets a man to say that after 25 years, whatever you're doing, please teach it. She chuckled. And I said, so how do you feel about his smoking, right? You are aware that we're having a discussion about him stopping smoking. He's like, oh, if you could get him to stop, that'd be great. I said, oh, why would that be great? Oh, he's going to die early. It's a problem. So does it affect like going to sleep? Does he smell like smoke in the bed? He goes, oh yeah, the sheets everything smells like smoke. The bedroom smells like smoke. Sounds like this is a big problem. Oh, it's a pretty big problem. Yeah. I said, okay. And so now in my brain, I'm just going to move her, right? I'm just going to use words to maneuver her and get her back into a corner to say, stop smoking or I'm going to leave you. That's all I need. Right. But this woman is being a ninja, like deflecting everything I'm throwing at her. I was like, what is happening? This woman, like, is she trained? Like, is she, like, nothing's landing on this woman. And then finally I just came out and I said, like, what could I do to get you to say, stop smoking or I'm going to leave you? And she looked at me, like she tilted her head and looked at me. It's like, you can't. I said, what do you mean I can't? It's like, he is my everything. There's nothing you could do that would cause me to ever leave him. Nothing. And I broke, like my eyes, like it was waterworks, right? Like for a man to hear that, and it wasn't even about me, it was about some other guy, but it doesn't matter. Like the loyalty that was just displayed, right? My face just cracked. And I looked at him and his face cracked, like everything, like he was sweating, weeping. It was both of us. And I looked at him and the look in my eyes would have had to have been the most closest to the devil that you could imagine. And I looked at him and I said, how dare you, man? How dare you?
To jeopardize
the gift that this angel is providing you on a daily basis, and your respect to that gift is to not listen, to do something so selfish. You want to talk about honor, code, brotherhood? You want to say those words in my presence after I'm listening to this? And he's just weeping, like absolutely weeping. So I said, you let me know tomorrow if you still need a cigarette. We're done. And I left, recovered, tried to have some fun. Well, the next day, because I gave him my phone number, the next day he called me and he said, I wanted to give you an update from last night. Hold on. So he said, just want to let you know, I called the president of the company after I spoke with several of the other smokers in our corporate. I'm in the corporate office. There's several of us who go out for smoke breaks. I told him what happened, and we all went into the president's office and asked him to implement a new company policy of no smoking. We all quit, not just me. I told them all the story, and we all quit. And I followed up with them a year later, and they hadn't had a cigarette in a year. And so I tell that story because it's not the logic that will get the behavior to change. It's not the logic that will get you to earn money. It's not the logic that will get you to stand back up after life has dealt you a body blow. And I've had my body blows, plenty of them. I'm divorced 3 times. I have, on 2 separate occasions in my life, I have gone to work in my car, not had enough gas to get home, no money for lunch, no money for gas to get home, and no idea how I was going to get home or eat that day. On 2 separate occasions in my life. And so I know what it means to receive a body blow. I know what it means to receive life's backhand. It's not whether that's going to happen. It's going to happen. What's going to drive you to stand back up? And it won't be money. It's going to be, what are you going to do with the money? What are you going to do with your code, whatever your code is? It's not my place to tell you what you should be living your life by. It's your place to make that decision, but make that decision and then live accordingly. And that would be my wish. And that's why I wrote the book, right? The Why of Money. What's your why? And what are you doing every day to stay focused on that?
I'm with you on this 100%. Well, thank you first for sharing the story and really making this point that and without an emotional desire or attachment, which is the key to manifestation and attraction, nothing is really working. And I think this hustle culture of money, 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 money has done us a great disservice in so many ways. I had a group that I was facilitating today, and I told them the same thing in different words, that if you only, Princess Leia said to Han Solo, if money is all you want, money shall be all you get. And I always believe that I hope people want more than that. I hope they want somebody to enjoy the money with, and people that go on these vacations, that drive in those cars and have all these perks, because other than that, it's just money, and then you're just miserable on a different level. So for somebody who wants to get in touch with you, read the book, where do we send them, Eric?
Eric-Mitchell.com, ERIC-MITCHELL.com. All of my links, all of my information is right there.
Excellent. Well, I thank you for a different kind of conversation today, but a very powerful one, and for being so vulnerable and open and coaching me personally. Thank you. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
And that is it for us for today. So I hope this story moved you just as much as it moved me. If you know somebody who is still struggling with money, or can't figure out sort of why they want what they want, or makes excuses, or is not earning up to their potential, please share the show with them. And I see you again next time, and goodbye. That's it for this episode of the Business Growth Architect Show, Founders of the Future. If you're done playing small and ready to build the future on your terms, subscribe, share, and help us reach more trailblazers like you. And if you're serious about creating, growing, and scaling a business that's aligned with who you are, schedule your Uncovery session at uncoverysession.com. Lead with vision. Move with purpose. Create your future.